Forged from Iron is proud to support Iron Supporting Food Banks. They are a group of West Ham United fans and friends inspired by the work of other football fan food banks around the country. They collect food and cash donations from Newham Food Bank in Beckton, who supply 7 distribution centres in the borough, 7 days a week, and hand out several hundred 3-day emergency food packs every month to families in need. They are also working with other groups to improve conditions for vulnerable adults and children in the Newham community. They are supported in their efforts by West Ham United Football Club, the WHUFC Foundation, LS185, London Legacy Development Corporation, Newham Council, the Met Police, Spire London East Hospital, Expedient Security, and a large number of West Ham and football fans. You can help by making a donation to their Just Giving page. You will find the link to this in the description section of the video details in this stream. Thank you for your support. Come on, you Irons. Hello and welcome to Forged from Iron, and as it says there on the banner, please don't forget to like, comment on and share this stream to your social media platforms. Subscribe to our YouTube channel if you haven't done so already, and make sure you hit the bell icon for alerts on new content. As always, ladies and gentlemen, we thank you very much indeed for your support. This is a little bit of a special today. This is another episode of Academy Talk, but this is focusing primarily on the FA Youth Cup final, which takes place on Tuesday at the Emirates Stadium, where our under-18s will be facing against Arsenal. So I've obviously got my younger brother and our Forged Academy correspondent, Mr. Ben Gates, in the hot seat. How are you, Ben?
I'm really good, mate. Yeah, obviously, it's been a good weekend. Well, it's been a good week for West Ham generally. So. Yeah, it seems like the first team are finally turning a bit of a corner in terms of performances and results. So, yeah, it's been good, mate. It's been good.
Good. Well, so let's turn our attention to matters going on at the Emirates Stadium as we record this. We're recording this on Sunday, so this will be in a couple of days that this will be unfolding before our very eyes. I'm fortunate enough to have tickets, as do yourself. And obviously, we know that the under-18s have had an excellent season in their league this season, and they actually beat Arsenal to secure the league just the other week. But we're obviously taking them on at their stadium. They're probably going to have a good amount of support there. How do you see this game panning out? Do you think it will be like it's been in the league, where we're pretty handily ahead of them, or do you think that the fact that it's at the Emirates might level the playing field somewhat?
Well, yeah, it's a difficult one to predict, isn't it, mate? I mean, we've been the runaway leaders in the Southern League. You know, as it stands, we've won the league with a few games to spare. I think we're 16 points clear of second, and Arsenal are sort of further down the table. You don't like to be too confident, because it could come back to bite you on the arse. And maybe we'll talk about sort of the way the capacity and the allocation's been in a little while. Obviously, we are essentially the away side, albeit that I think that's a little bit wrong. But if the league is anything to go by, which I think it will be, personally, then I think, if the lads' mindset and attitude is right, I think we're going to go out and convincingly win this game. I do genuinely, regardless of where it is, the fact it's a final. I just get the feeling that these lads have been, you know, they've been building it up all season, and I don't think they're going to let the occasion get the better of them.
What are your thoughts on the FA Cup Youth Cup final being held at the home ground of one of the two finalists? I mean, back in the day, the last time we contested the FA Youth Cup final was in 1999. It was a two-legged affair. We played the first leg at Highfield Road. The second leg was then brought back to Upton Park. We won it. It's 9-0 on aggregate, 6-0 at Upton Park and 3-0 away from home. But obviously things have changed for whatever reason. How do you feel about it? I mean, do you feel it should go back to the two-legger, or do you think it doesn't really make that much difference?
To be honest, mate, I do like the idea of it being a one-off game. I think the two-leg concept, for me, I get that more in, maybe because of European and major cup competitions. I get that in more quarters and semis. I like the idea of a final being off in a one-off game. However, I also like it being, at a neutral venue. But don't get me wrong. We're both London clubs. It's Arsenal versus West Ham. I think the likelihood of it being held at Wembley. Yeah, Wembley's 90,000. You're not going to get 90,000 for a Youth Cup game. But I do genuinely think if you could do a coin toss and it was at one of the grounds, but I do genuinely think that it should be a split allocation. From what I can gather, I know that we've got 7,000.
Yeah.
And I think they're only opening, say, the bottom tier. So I think that might mean maybe it's 30,000 total crowd, in which case Arsenal will have, say, 23, we might have 7. I think that's a little bit unfair. So I don't think anyone should have home advantage. And I'd be saying that if it was at the London Stadium.
Where do you think would have been if it was to have been held on neutral territory, given obviously the location of both the clubs and as you say, the sort of like the take up on tickets that both teams are possibly going to bring to bear? What would be your thoughts on what would be a reasonable location?
It's an interesting one, actually, because yeah, I don't think I wouldn't put it this way. I wouldn't like the idea if it was, say, Arsenal Tottenham and they held the Youth Cup final at the London Stadium. I just don't like that idea. I don't like that idea, and I think it'd be disrespectful to other clubs to have it there. So I think it's, like I say, Wembley's probably out the equation. Maybe a ground that is a 20, 30,000 capacity stadium that isn't in the Premier League. That, in London, no one, it's not a rival to either side. Maybe somewhere like Loftus Road. Do you know what I mean? QPR, where you potentially could have, or Charlton, where you literally could have a full house for an FA Youth Cup final, maybe generate a bit of income for that particular club. Not much, but maybe just a little bit. But I just think it'd be nice. It'd be nice for those players to play in front of a full house and not a half-empty stadium. Do you know what I mean? Because no one really likes that.
Yeah, the value's a good shout. Because what's that? It's about 30,000, isn't it?
Yeah, 25, 30,000. That would have been a good one. But look, that's by the by. It is what it is. But if they're gonna do the way they've done it, even though I wouldn't be a massive fan, I actually think the two-legged affair is a fairer way than the way they are doing it. In that essentially, Arsenal have got a home tie for a cup final. That is wrong, and I'd think exactly the same if it was being held at the London Stadium.
Yeah, fair enough. Right, let's move on to matters regarding obviously the route to the final, and obviously we was there at the semi-final against Southampton. And I, I think it's fair to say that we blew them away in that game.
We did, mate. We did, and I think it was one of those games where it actually felt a bit of an odd game to watch because I think I could be totally wrong in saying this. I think if you looked at the stats from the overall game, it might have been fairly close in terms of, say, possession and maybe shots off target. But what we've got at youth level, which I've touched on a few of the other sort of streams, is that we're just so clinical up front. We've got two or three players up front that at this level, they just know where the goal is and they only need a sniff to bang in a chance. And, you know, a game that might be fairly closely balanced, we're blowing teams away because our firepower up front is just so deadly at youth level.
Is there any player that you think, from West Ham's point of view, is the key to success on Tuesday night?
I don't, because I genuinely think that you know it's so difficult to pinpoint one player. I think probably there's four or five players that are, you know, on the day could easily just turn it on and win us the game. You know, I think the goalie's a really good goalie, Mason Terry. Even when we've won games, sort of 4-5-6, he'll still make a couple of good saves when, say, the game was 0-0. And you think maybe, you know, if he hadn't made those saves, the game could have turned out differently. Um, Defensively, they look really solid. You know, if anything, the lads that are probably going to play Tuesday are playing more in the under 21s, so they're getting experience against. Yeah, and it kind of shows because when they're coming back down to the under 18 level, they just look so comfortable that they're above that level because they're playing above that level. And I've touched on before the midfield, um, Lewis Orford, George Urphy look real silky, skillful operators. Um, and up front, Mubama, Marshall, and you know, Kodua, I don't want to leave him out because he's looked pretty tasty as well. But to be honest, Marshall and Mubama look so deadly at this level that I'm just hopeful that, you know, we can win the cup final. We've won the league. I think we play Man City in a playoff to see who's the overall winner from the north and south, and they can both move up either into the under 21s or go out on loan because I think, you know, they've earned their stripes at under 18 level and they're too good for this level already.
Are there any players from the Arsenal under-18s, Ben, that are you familiar with any of the players that are going to be on display on the opposite side of the fence?
I think there's only one, and forgive me because I think I don't know his name fully. I think it might be Cozier Dubry or Cozier Hall. There's definitely a Cozier in there somewhere, but I think he's like a attacking player, striker. That is, you know, he seems to be their star man. I think, you know, don't want to read too much into the fairly recent game we played against Arsenal last week. We beat them 2-0. We didn't put our full strength team in that game. And I think that's because we knew we were playing them in the final. We didn't want to show our hand. So we put out not second string, bit of a weakened team. I think they did, and we beat them 2-0. Earlier in the season, we beat them 4-1. You know, no one knows. A final is a one-off game, obviously, but I don't want to be too cautious and coy and say it's going to be a cagey game. That'd be the obvious thing for me to come out and say, is that the league doesn't mean anything. Well, actually, I think it does. I think we've wiped the floor with everyone in the league, and if we go to Arsenal with our head on, we're going to wipe the floor with them as well.
Yeah, absolutely. The player that you're referring to, I've just had a little bit of a little look online, and this is the player we're talking about here. His name is Amario Cozier Dubry.
That's it. I
And
was right there, wasn't I?
yeah, it's close enough. I mean, this is the young fella here. So if
Dubry
anybody's
Watts it.
wondering, Dubry Watts it. There you go. He's in Premier League 2. He's there. He's had 20 appearances, 5 goals, 3 assists. He looks pretty handy. So yeah, he's right winger by trade, and he plays for the under 19s England. So yeah, he could be someone we might have to keep quiet on the day.
Exactly.
So,
But I think there's a lot of talent in our ranks, and if anything, look, we're 16 points clear of the league. They need to be worrying about the players that we've got more than the other way around. So I think if we go out there, all guns blazing, I'm fairly confident we'll come back with the FA Youth Cup, which would just be great news.
Well, I'm going to have to pin you down before we knock it on the head, Ben. What's your score prediction?
I'm going to say it finishes 4-1 to West Ham. I think we go out really with a lot of intent. We race into a 3-0 lead. They nick a goal back, but similar to the semi-final, there's no worrying. We bang in another goal and we put the game to bed. And this is a real springboard to set these young lads up for a real great career with West Ham.
Yeah, and it has to be said, I mean, we've talked about the players. Let's also give a mention to both Kevin Keane and Mark Phillips, who have done an absolutely sterling job with these players and really have earned their crust and have brought another batch of talent into West Ham's academy and nurtured them. And hopefully they'll move on, obviously, in due course to the 21s, and who knows, maybe even to the first team.
Absolutely, Matt. And I think, at a youth level, you've got the two guys we've just mentioned. You've got Steve Potts in there. You've got other guys that I think they are all really passionate about bringing young lads through into the West Ham system. We had a game Leicester on Saturday in the league. I think we brought in a lot of 16s and 17-year-olds, and we beat them. So it would be this season could be a great season, but hopefully it's a sign of things to come that we'll just keep churning out these young players and bringing them into the first team.
Yeah, all bodes well for the future. Right, well, Ben, I'm going to say thank you very much for your contribution to this particular episode of Academy Talk, where we focused on the FA Youth Cup final. Hopefully you and I will be there on Tuesday to witness the cup being lifted aloft with the ribbons in claret and blue on the handles. Fingers crossed. Brilliant. And for those of you watching, please, as it says, don't forget to like, comment on and share this stream to your social media platforms. Subscribe to our YouTube channel if you haven't done so already, and hit the bell icon for alerts and new content. As always, we thank you very much indeed for your support in this matter, and we'll just leave you with our usual sign off. Come on, you Irons.
Come on, you Irons.
Forged from Iron is proud to support Iron Supporting Food Banks. They are a group of West Ham United fans and friends inspired by the work of other football fan food banks around the country. They collect food and cash donations from Newham Food Bank in Beckton, who supply 7 distribution centres in the borough, 7 days a week, and hand out several hundred 3-day emergency food packs every month to families in need. They are also working with other groups to improve conditions for vulnerable adults and children in the Newham community. They are supported in their efforts by West Ham United Football Club, the WHU Foundation, LS185, London Legacy Development Corporation, Newham Council, the Met Police, Spire London East Hospital, Expedient Security, and a large number of West Ham and football fans. You can help by making a donation to their Just Giving page. You will find the link to this in the description section of the video details in this stream. Thank you for your support. Come on, you Irons.